Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to share 5 common mistakes new players made in Master Duel. This is also contributed by some of our viewers here, and I just consolidate them into these 5, and hoping with this it will help actually improve some of your gameplay as well. So before I get into the video, if I enjoyed the content so far, do remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, and also hit the notification bell and join our Discord channel for more discussion. And yep, on to the video. So these tips are not by priority or anything. It's not really in sequence. It's just there's no particular order to it. I'm just highlighting 5 of them. So let's take a look at the first one. So very common mistake I see in Master Duel is your wrong duel setting. So for your setting, do remember to make sure that your self chain is on, so that you can also chain to your own action instead of just relying on your opponents. And then next, your activation confirmation, make sure you switch it to switch instead of auto, because if you set it to auto, you can only respond to your opponent's effect and you can't chain stuff during like standby phase or even draw phase, which can be quite scary, especially when you play with stuff like access code talker, because access code talker don't allows you to chain on top of it. So if you set your option to auto, you will never be able to like effect veiler the access code talker. But if you switch it to on, after the access code resolve its effect, you can then chain on top your effect veiler or maxi of infinite imperm. Yeah, so this to me is very important, and it's a lot of people don't understand this. But just switch it to on, and then that on the bottom right of your screen there will be like a button there which you can switch it to from auto, off, on, and on at times. But if you on is too irritating for you because then you keep cancelling it, you can always switch it to auto first. There are only some cards that are that you need to switch it to on, like stuff like access code talker, but other than that you can just keep it to auto. This is something that I will encourage everyone to switch it to switch. Yeah, do let me know what you guys are using as well. For me, I think switch is one of the better one. Then card positioning manual. So most of the time you might think that the card position is not very important, but there's a lot of decks that you need to take care of your positioning, like such as there are a few things that you want to avoid. First thing is, you do not want to place cards under the extra monster zone. This is just in case there's stuff like relinquish anima, which can actually take control of cards that are right on below the extra monster zone. So that's one of the things that we usually try to avoid. And second, we try not to place a monster and your set trap or spell in the same column. This is just to give Magnite players a bit more problem. And then thirdly, you try not to set your spell trap in the same column as your opponent's spell trap, just in case they are that set trap is actually infinite imperm. So that's just something that as a more experienced player you'll realize that the position is actually really very important. And I don't usually see that in like platinum or golden tier games, but in diamond everyone is like doing that as a muscle memory, even though like maybe infinite imperm cannot happen, but it's just like something just in case, and they just activate it at a column that doesn't have any set traps or spells. Yeah, so that's very important. And lastly, activation order setting. This is something that I didn't know as well, because usually you will set it to off, but the reason to set this to on is, if you don't set it to on, the chain priority will always be cards that is on the field followed by the graveyard. But sometimes we actually want to trigger stuff from the graveyard as chain 1, and then the few cards on the field as chain 2. So if you set this to off, you won't be able to do that selection. And to be honest, I am not sure why we even have this selection as a off in the first place. So this option as an on is very important. Yeah, I thought this should be by default on. You shouldn't even have this setting. Yeah, but just take note, these are some of the things that you need. I'll recommend to set it to, so you can actually do your chaining properly. Yep. So this is number 1. Number 2, I see one of the common mistake is you're unfamiliar with your own combo. So if you're unfamiliar with the combo, I recommend actually practice a lot more in the story mode. Make sure it becomes like a muscle memory, because breaking your own combo will actually really break your whole board and making your board totally useless. That's the worst it can go. Like no negation, no interruption or anything. It's just a bunch of monsters sitting on the field. So this is actually quite more common than I think. Like there are times when people just keep on to special summon more monster and more monster, but they have no idea what they are doing. They just thought that okay, bringing more monsters onto the field is like the best way to do their combo. So I would say really practice your combo. Check on how to save more resources, like not just vomit out all your resources. Yeah. So this is number 2. I think it's a lot faster than the number 1. And number 3, prematurely activating effects. So there are times where some of the players that I played with, they just activate their effect for the sake of activating it. So like this screenshot I have here is actually one of my game against Eldritch, and during my turn, he just decided to activate everything in his set trap. So he summoned out like two Eldritch, and then one of his trap banishes my graveyard. But if you think about it, at that point in time, there's no point in summoning out Eldritch. It's just giving me like one more target to destroy. And also at the same time, there's no point in banishing cards in my graveyard because I didn't use any like monster reborn or anything that take back card from the graveyard. So timing your effect activation is very, very important. So this one of the priority that I always share with my friends is if this card can be you can save this card activation until the end phase, keep it to the end phase. If not, main phase 2, if not battle phase, and if really no choice, then you need to activate during main phase 1. So because firstly, if you do it in end phase, it actually disrupt your opponent can't like do anything more because it's in the end phase. So usually we try to do things in the end phase. For example, like if I have Twin Twister in my back row, I won't destroy it anytime first. I will actually destroy it during the end phase so that your opponent cannot really react to it. Then in main phase 2, you actually will it's good because it doesn't have a battle phase anymore, so your cards will be actually a lot safer than in battle phase or in main phase 1. So some of the things that I always try to emphasize is if you want to set a trap or spell, set it during main phase 2, not main phase 1, because main phase 1 there's still a battle phase, and during the battle phase a lot of things can happen. What if they can actually destroy a back row, or they can actually disrupt some of your back row set cards, send it to the deck or send it to the graveyard, that sort of thing. So always set your spell trap in main phase 2. Of course, if let's say they have some sort of effect like they can be activated on the turn they set, then yeah, I think that's something that is a special case. But other than that, stuff like your trap hole, your infinite imperm, just set it in main phase 2 because you might not know when you need it, especially for quick play spell. Because quick play spell you can play it during your turn from your hand, but once you set it you can't activate it that turn. So do take note to not just randomly set spell during your main phase 1. Yeah. And I think every time when you think of activating an effect, you can think about do you need that effect right now. So if let's say your effect is actually to summon a monster, is summoning a monster at that point in time useful? Like what does it do to you? Or actually will it summon at a later time, for example actually during the battle phase itself, will disrupt your opponent more because your opponent will like, oh, that's a new monster that I wasn't expecting. So you're not giving your opponent like options to play around your cards. So try to delay your effects as much as possible. But let's say if you got Harpy and you want to activate your trap, I think that's a no choice thing, we have to do it. But other than that, if you can delay your effect to a later part of the turn, try as much to do so. But of course you will need to also understand like the decks that your opponent play. Is it something that, so let's say there's a two monster with level 2 on the field, most probably might be a totally awesome, and totally awesome actually negates card. So at this point in time, is there something you can do to actually remove one of them or actually remove both of them, so totally awesome don't come out to do the negation? So stuff like that, you have to really understand the kind of deck your opponents play, which is very, very important. Yep. So this is tips number, okay, I won't say tips, this is just me highlighting the common mistakes. And then number 4, not understanding your opponent's deck. So like what I mentioned just now, by understanding your opponent's deck, it actually gives you a lot of advantage. So stuff like if you know the next card is totally awesome, you might need to activate some of your stuff first just in case they get negated that turn. And knowing how your opponent deck works will help you better understand which stuff to negate or interrupt. So for example, if we play Tri-Brigade, the main thing that we will try to disrupt is actually the Tri-Brigade Fractal, because that's the only card that can that will actually send more cards from to the graveyard from the deck, which actually gives them resources to bring out more to bring out their link monster using the Tri-Brigade effect. So fractal is actually the main thing that we want to try to stop. And for the zodiac part, you just need to take note not to let the zodiac ball direct attack to change into Zeus. So these are some things that you need to know. For other ones, I to be honest, I really have no idea how to stop this deck because it just keep excavating. And I would say because they have 3 monsters to special summon out, one you need to control a rock monster, one you need to control Adamantivator, and another you just need your opponent to control a special summon monster, I think. So my objective is always try to not let them have a rock monster on the field, but it's actually pretty hard because they can keep special summoning like more rock monster, so this deck might be hard. And another example is actually Prank Kids. Prank Kids, you just need to stop their first special summon after they link out, because once the Prank Kid goes into the graveyard, they will attempt to special summon out. You just need to ash that guy, and then if let's say they don't have the spell card to special summon a token, their combo actually just ends there. Yeah. So from this few scenario, you can actually see how important it is to understand your opponent's deck, and then you will then know which one to stop. So I actually was thinking of doing a video to roughly go through this deck to know to share like what needs to be stopped. Yeah, so not sure if that video will be useful, so you guys can let me know as well. Yeah, so this is one common mistake that I realized, because they don't know like what the opponent deck does, and then it just negates anyhow, and that's how I actually managed to bait out a lot of my Pendulum Magician effects. Yeah. Okay, the video is a bit long, so let's jump right to the last one. Okay, the last one is actually everyone's problem, including my own problem, which is not reading properly. So stuff like if you see a Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, you'll be like, damn, that's a lot of text, and you will just not read it. But actually it's very, very important to read. This is something that I got lazy as well. So it's it's hard to solve because you're already playing this game that requires so much brain power, and then you have to read again. So it's actually quite tiring. So not reading properly is actually a very, very devastating mistake actually, which even I do the same as well. And I think some of the things that we always missed out are what we call the lingering effect, which, for example, Pendulum Core. So Pendulum Core has an effect to stop your pendulum skill from being destroyed. So stop your magician pendulum skill from being destroyed, which lasts until the opponent's turn. And most of the time, I think because they didn't read it properly and didn't realize the effect, then so they will do a Harpy Feather Duster or Twin Twister, or try to pop our back row, which won't work because Pendulum Core protects it. Yeah. Another example is actually Prank Kids Bow Wow. This card, when after you tribute it, for the rest of the turn, their Prank Kids cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects. So because of this card, I was a victim to this card as well. I didn't know about that until I went back to read a few more effects. Then I realized, oh, this is a card that does the protection. Yeah. So do read properly, especially the lingering effect, and then once you know it, actually will just start in your head as a muscle memory kind of thing. So always good to read. Take your time to read. You have 480 seconds per turn to do something about it. Do it slowly and think about it. So actually, if you see my diamond game, which I did live stream, you see all the opponents actually read I feel that they read a lot and think a lot on how to recover from certain situation. So this is something that I think everyone needs to do, although I think it's really, really hard because we are meant to not, we are famous for not reading, yeah, in the game. Okay, so yeah, mainly that's it. These are the 5 common mistakes new player make. Let me just quickly run through again. So number 1 is your wrong duel setting. Set it to this setting that I shown in the screen. Then 2, you familiarize yourself with your own combo. Make sure it's a muscle memory, no mistake done, and also try to think of ways to go through certain negation. What if at this point one of your card got negated? How will you continue if you're actually in the real game? Yeah, so practice it in solo mode first. And 3, do time your effect properly. Don't just activate it for the sake of activating. Think of the reason why you're activating it now. Do you need to negate it now? And to know when do you need to activate, you actually need to understand your opponent's deck. So play more, remember how each of these deck work, and then maybe ask a friend or ask in our Discord channel which are the cards to stop for each deck. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of players that will reply you. Yeah. And lastly, not reading. So read properly, take note of all the lingering effect, remember them, and you should be able to do well in your duel. These are some mistakes. So yeah, let me know what other mistake do you think that there is, and what are some of the tips you want to give for new players in the game. And yeah, hopefully this will help everyone improve their gameplay, and then maybe we'll see more of my viewers being in the diamond tier as well. Yeah. So that's the end of the video. If you are enjoying this so far, don't remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, and hit the notification bell. Join our Discord channel for more discussion, and I will see you guys in the next video.